Suicide Crisis Line.
Hi,
Hey, my name is Dylan. What's your name?
Andrea.
Hi, Andrea. Andrea, are you thinking about suicide right now?
Yeah.
What you just heard is an example of what it feels like to actually pick up the phone as a crisis line counselor. So my name is Dylan, and I'm a suicide crisis line counselor and volunteer for a crisis line that's part of the National Suicide Prevention Network. And I'm here to basically share with you some of my experiences in order to actually just inspire you and motivate you to begin to consider the importance of listening in your own life. So let's actually break down exactly what that first shift is like, okay? So I pick up the phone and I'm talking directly to people who want to kill themselves, right? People who have suicidal ideation. People who have attempted suicide even that day or numerous times in their lifetime. People who may have a desire for suicide but not necessarily a plan or access to those means, which we actually define as intent and capability. Third-party callers, people who are actually calling about their loved ones or their friends. People who are concerned after seeing an Instagram photo, for instance, that got them really alarmed. So it's also not uncommon to actually get a group of 13-year-old prank callers. No matter who that first caller is, it's terrifying to pick up the phone. And I didn't want to say the wrong things, right? I really wanted to make sure I was saying the right things. And a lot of the times I didn't really know what to say. But eventually I learned to just be open-hearted and willing to just adopt an entirely new skill set. Because listening really isn't easy. It's not easy. In fact, it's actually really difficult to listen. And it wasn't until I actually started volunteering on a crisis line that I realized just how challenging it was for me to listen in my own everyday life. So just like all of you, here's some of the things that I do, okay, even to this day. Sometimes I'll ask someone a question twice, literally minutes after asking them it, because I just totally blanked on me what they were exactly saying. Or sometimes someone will tell me their name, and I'll almost immediately forget it, because I'm thinking about an attribute of that person that's standing out to me in some way. Or someone will tell me, hey, Dylan, what's new? And I'll almost immediately respond, good, how are you? Without really thinking of what they were asking, right? So like all of you, these little things, I end up doing these things a lot, and I still do this to this day. So it's clear that listening really is a problem for a lot of us. And let's just throw in the mediated role of technology into the mix. Okay, the inundation of information through your social media channels and your platforms, just multiple images and information being thrown at you every day, plus using multiple tabs and windows when you're working. But the barriers to listening, they're not only external barriers, they're internal barriers too. So take, for example, your disposition to want to finish the other person's sentence. Or just, when thinking of something to say next, when someone's trying to talk to you. Or even actually trying to make up solutions to what you deem as their problems when they're talking to you. All of these we've done in some sort of way, right? And all of these facets actually obstruct our ability to listen, making listening really a super arduous task in today's age. So as the president founder of CalStateLA's chapter of NAMI, which stands for the National Alliance on Mental Illness, I'm actually really concerned about the degree to which we don't really listen to our own mental health needs. Consider how 2/3 of students who are struggling with mental health issues don't actually go and seek treatment, according to a 2015 survey from the American College Health Association. Now, I really wanted to found this chapter to initiate a real destigmatization of the discussion of mental health issues, the issues that I was hearing from all the callers in the lines. So issues like social anxiety, depression, social phobia, psychosis. The chapter basically represents the role that education and social supports can play in really just initiating a more honest conversation about mental health on a college campus. So at this point, I think we can all kind of intellectually, at least, understand the importance of listening, right? We can kind of think about it and be like, okay, listening is probably important. I don't do it as much as I probably should, or at least I'm not doing it in the right way that I probably should. But it wasn't until listening was actually a matter of life or death that I began to realize just how, I was making these exact same mistakes. So I struggle to this day to listen to callers while also providing with them resources and helping them find resources that could really help them. So this story begins with a caller we'll call Mark. And Mark was a teen caller, and he was telling me how he actually wanted to kill himself because his father had physically attacked him the night before. And it was really difficult listening to Mark's story and heartbreaking at times. But I pushed forward with a demographic question, and without really, telling him to tell me more about his story. So I asked Mark what gender he identified as. And actually, before he even began to speak, I started writing down male. And he replied with transgender. I wasn't really listening. I wasn't really listening at all, actually. I realized in that moment that I was basically forming opinions, I was coming to conclusions, I was not staying present with Mark. Even with your best intentions of being empathetic, it doesn't really mean you're actually listening to someone. This is why I admire counselors on our shift. On a typical 4-hour shift, they can talk to 7, 8, 9, 10 callers, and they can give each caller their fullest attention. Callers who have spent years on the lines, even decades on the lines, tell me that their listening skills are actually always improving. And the truth is that your listening skills, like mine, can continuously be developed and honed in on and grow. My time as a crisis line counselor has actually allowed me to embody a whole different approach to listening. So in their pioneering book, Are You Listening?, which was published in 1957 by McGraw-Hill, Dr. Ralph Nichols and communication expert Leonard Stevens tell us that the average American's rate of speech is 125 words per minute. So although a lot of researchers actually debate how our brain is really functioning while we think, stay with me here, most researchers actually agree that our brain's primary mode of thought is actually through language and functions at a much, much faster rate than that of the rate of speech. So what does this mean for all of us, right? This basically means that when we find ourselves listening to someone, we're actually filling in the gaps with our own thinking. So I want to end this talk with an example that Nichols and Stevens provide us with that I think we can relate to all on some level. So let's think back to having that meeting with our boss where we really found ourselves listening. So our boss is trying to tell us of a new program or a new initiative that they really want to implement, right? And they really want our help with it. So we listen. We sit there and we listen. But eventually, because of the slower rate of speech relative to our brain's capabilities, we actually begin to subconsciously sidetrack mentally. And we start to think of things like, your more recent breakup, your friends, your anything really, just how you were a rock star at work the other day, reminding yourself to bring up how you almost prevented a company-wide catastrophe because this is the meeting to bring it up. Whatever it really is, we can do this for a while, okay? So we can sort of sidetrack mentally and then come back again to the meeting. And then sidetrack mentally and then come back to the meeting again. But eventually we actually end up daydreaming a little bit longer than we anticipated. And as Nichols and Stevens put it, by the end of the meeting, we have literally almost missed half of what our boss has tried to illustrate to us on some level. I'm a crisis line counselor. I spend 4 hours on a typical shift talking to people who want to kill themselves. I am a student and forever will be. I founded a chapter of NAMI on campus. But one thing I'm not is a better listener. Because of any of these things, really. Because listening is actually a choice that we all have to make on a minute-to-minute, second-to-second basis, all the time. And it's a choice that we make to actually more deeply connect with ourselves, while also bridging that understanding between one another. But most importantly, true listening can actually save someone's life. Thank you so much.